And here we are once again, everyone, with a co-review. I am here with the blonde, the bald in front, formerly known as the blonde in front. Though it is coming in nicely. Are you staying with the bald?
I don't know. I may have to change it to the buzzed in front.
The buzzed in
It's an
front.
ever
I like
evolving thing, somewhat like this film. You never
Yeah.
know what's going to happen.
Your image just continues to change and grow
Yes.
and turn interesting. Just hopefully doesn't take the drastic turn that our main character did into night.
No, I'm just always evolving, and that's it. That's all I'll say. Yeah.
Yes, so I'm happy tonight. We have Cati Glidewell with us to do this spoilery final cut review. We've been doing a number of these now, and I've been having a lot of fun. And this one especially because, yeah, my perspective is probably going to be completely different just because of things. So yes, you saw in the title. We are looking at The Substance. This will have spoilers in it, just a warning ahead of time. And yeah, so Cati, how are we doing tonight?
I mean, I'm doing good. I think The Substance is definitely one of my favorite films of the year, but I'm going to have you explain what it is, and then I'll go into some spoilery deets and give you the ladies' perspective on
it. I'd be happy to, because here we go, folks. I'll probably be way off, but yes, we have in a actress, a very well-known veteran actress in the form of Elizabeth Sparkle, who made her name. She was award-winning. She was known for quite some time, but as all stars do, either in the sky or in Hollywood, they eventually fail as they get older. And as she tries to hold on to staying relevant, she is in competition, as always, with the younger, more peppy folks that are moving up in Hollywood and looking to, for their place in there, and dealing with producers who are also looking for the younger, fresher face all the time, and looking at numbers like ratings and such. So when Elizabeth Sparkle is basically told by her producer her fitness show that she's been doing for a number of years is that she's being replaced, yeah, she's having a hard time with it. But then she comes across a mysterious thumb drive that has an ad for something called The Substance, which promises her revitalized youth of sorts. But obviously there's always a catch with these things. Well, she reluctantly eventually goes to this back alley and she gets her dose of the substance. She follows the instructions and she finds out that what ends up happening is it creates kind of a clone of her of sorts, another her who is younger and brighter and who she eventually names Sue. Well, Sue decides to get her revenge, goes to the producer, and guess what? Now she lands the fitness job. But as these things go, Sue starts to develop her own sense of self awareness, and she's kind of liking her life, and she doesn't like the fact that she has to trade off weeks with her older self. And her older self is kind of getting jealous at all the attention and praise and stardom that is growing with her younger self. So she is essentially fighting with herself, and this fight escalates further and further. They start to break away from the procedure that they should be following to the letter, and it ends up with them changing into something that nobody ever saw coming, into something that was so grotesque that nobody wants anything to do with either Sue or Elizabeth. How's that?
That's pretty good. One of the things about The Substance is that in the beginning, they show an egg and an egg splitting. And they also show Elizabeth Sparkle's star on, the Walk of Fame. And it's, stars fresh and, new and all that stuff. But that's one of the things about the film that isn't necessarily realistic, because people don't just get a star on the Walk of Fame. Like, you normally get a star on the Walk, and that's kind of a contradiction, and that's actually sort of funny. You actually have to earn that star. I mean, it usually takes a number of years, kind of like getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and stuff like that. You just don't get into it right away. That takes 25 years. But with the star, just for the film, she gets it when she's starting out. It's on the ground. You know, you see everyone walk around it, take pictures, take shavings of, or whatever it's called when you do that.
Rubbings.
But then as time fades, as time goes, you also see that the star starts to crack. It's getting a little dirtier. It's shown its wear and tear and all that stuff, which is one of those things that it's basically supposed to be like, I think, a metaphor for Hollywood. It's like, you know, it's all nice and good when you're the bright, shiny person. But Elizabeth has been working consistently, you know, ever since she had her star and won her award and all that stuff. And one of the things about the film is that when she's fired on her birthday, she gets in a wreck on her birthday, and then she finds the substance on her birthday. When she is fired, the studio, it is sort of old fashioned with her, where she's doing her exercise, but there's a hallway that has like these floor to ceiling images of her, where you can see what she has done for this company and what she has brought to, you know, this station all these years. I mean, floor to ceiling, and it goes all the way down this hall, and it's a huge hall, and it's very reminiscent of The Shining. There are a number of films that, whether they're supposed to be an homage or not, or a wink, I mean, chef's kiss, they are done brilliantly. Because with that, I immediately think of The Shining. There's a very distinct pattern on the ground that brought me to that. But I look at that, and it's like, none of the work that she has done for that station, and she's the only one that's on those walls. So, I mean, basically, she's been the reason why that station is probably there. And what do? They say, oh, you know what? It's almost, you're at that time. We're going to send you out to a pasture. Here's a box. Here's a package. Happy birthday. Bye. And that's it. And it's like so beyond disrespectful, because I always think about going back to that. It's like, bitches, you guys would be nowhere without her. Like, she's the one who kept the lights on. And it's like, and then you just immediately go later. And I mean, Dennis Quaid, honestly, who plays the producer, he earns the D in Dennis in this role. Like, good for him. I don't see anyone. I mean, believe me, it takes a very specific talent to play this much of a D-bag, and he does it amazingly. Demi Moore, like, coming to terms with the stuff that she's done in Hollywood and as Elizabeth Sparkle is great. And then when she finally succumbs to the fact, it's like, all right, let's take the substance. Let's see what we can do. I mean, you're going to have so many people talking about the body horror, but it's also the little things that she does when Sue isn't in control, because they have very distinct rules. It's all about respect. Like, you have to respect Sue's time. Sue has to respect Elizabeth's time. And if it doesn't work, then there's going to be repercussions. Unfortunately, that's usually for the other person. With Elizabeth, it's like, it's not only this, and with this film, it's not only about the body horror, but it's also about the body dysmorphia that so many women feel when they look in the mirror. It's like, there's a scene that is going to be legendary where Demi Moore is going on a date. She's all done up. She's perfect. She's absolutely perfect. And but then she goes back, and it's like, she's taking her makeup off. She's like reapplying the makeup. It's like, okay, I'm going to go. She goes back again. And it's just a series of her just not feeling good enough. It's like this disgust on her face. And then she ends up not going on the date. That, I think, is going to be where people, when I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, if she gets nominated for an Oscar or SAG or, you know, Golden Globe or anything, that is going to be the scene. That's going to be the clip that they're going to use of her going back and forth and just seeing her face and doing that. And that is very, I feel like that's very relevant and it's like a lot of women feel that way. It's like you always see the worst in yourself more than other people. But with today's society, and especially like with social media or something, there's so many people that we just let strangers dictate how we look and how we're supposed to feel about ourselves. I'm like, look, I've got a buzz cut. This was bald. I give a shit what you say about me, because you know what? I feel fucking great. I know what I went through to get this. And it's like, and that's the thing, ladies. Don't let anyone try. It's probably my shirt coming open so that don't let anyone try and tell you how to feel about yourselves. It's like, and it's a hard thing to do, especially in Hollywood, and especially when you have someone like Sue, who even with, you know, the week that she has, she wants more time. But to get that, you have to like take the fluid from Elizabeth, who's, you know, when their weeks are when Sue is on and doing her stuff, Elizabeth is naked in a room and completely out of it. But, and the same thing vice versa. When Elizabeth's on, Sue's knocked out. When Sue decides to go a little bit longer with the time, this is where I was like, give them an Oscar for special effects and makeup. And spoiler, the first thing you see, she wakes up, she looks, she has this decrepit finger. That's her finger, but because Sue made her stay asleep a little bit longer and didn't respect the time, because that's one of the things that the substance always makes sure that you need to know. It's about respect. You are the same person. You have to respect each other. You have to respect each other's time. Sue does not do that with Elizabeth. And when Elizabeth wakes up, her finger is just this decrepit finger that I would have thought they like did some sort of thing where they actually, it was not Demi Moore's finger. It is amazing. And that is nothing compared to what ends up happening later on in the film. I mean, honestly, after I saw this, we were spinning. It's like, it just, talk about a film with people for like, I think almost an hour after, that does not happen. And that is what this film has done. Like, Quarterly, Fargate, amazing, wrote and direct this, incredible. And it's the whole thing, like the scene that Mark has up right now, I feel like it definitely is a stylized modern portrait of Dorian Gray, like with Sue right in front of that portrait of Elizabeth behind her and stuff like that. It's like she's sprawled out, she's young, she's got a little crop top and this, and then you have the reason why she's there behind her and all that stuff, but she doesn't care about that. In fact, later on, she actually takes that down because she doesn't want to see it. And it's like the more Sue does stuff, the more decrepit and like just monster-like Elizabeth ends up getting, until there becomes a point where Sue can't take any more fluid from Elizabeth, so she has to wake her up, because Sue has to have that every single chance she gets. And when Elizabeth does wake up finally, I mean, she looks like she's like 120 years old. I mean, it's kind of like a little bit of a Dark Crystal moment with those creatures. Like,
yes.
I mean, the makeup again, incredible. And I mean, Elizabeth realizes that Sue's been doing that for 3 months. Yeah. So, and no matter what you do, she can't go back. Because again, it's about respect. You have to respect each other. And that was something that was not done. And I feel like that's, you know, an underlying, it's like you need to respect yourself. Respect yourself in every single way, because, you know, this is a younger, you know, a younger, better version of yourself. But for me, I never really understood what exactly Elizabeth does get out of this. It's like, yes, you know, Sue gets to do these things, but they're living in the same apartment. As far as I can tell, she's getting the same amount of money. I don't necessarily see if she's getting more money, so I don't really get what Elizabeth is getting from this, other than she's kind of been taking over, and she gets to see, you know, I don't know, people making fun of her, and like Sue even making fun of her. Again, the respect aspect of it. But then it's kind of like a war with yourself. Like when Elizabeth comes out of it, like Sue has like made the apartment really messy. And then when Sue wakes up, Elizabeth has like basically eaten everything and just left it in the apartment. I love how they use like analog with Elizabeth. Like she's got a newspaper. She uses a like a paper calendar. She has a landline that she uses more. Like when she's getting a number from someone, she asks them to like write it down. It's like, why don't you just put it in your phone? I mean, you guys both actually have them, but it's the opposite, like with Sue. And there's so many different like respectful nods to films that I picked up on. I don't necessarily know if this is what the director wanted, but it's like The Thing. I already mentioned The Portrait of Dorian Gray, Evil Dead, Neon Demon, Blue Velvet, Carrie, what is it? The Elephant Man.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to say necessarily Death Becomes Her and stuff like that, but it's like I also got like All About Eve. Like the more I thought about it, with, you know, that's more about the story and not necessarily about the visuals. And I wrote them down because I mean, honestly, there's a lot. There's The Blob, there's The Fly, Psycho. I mean, I felt like there was Requiem for a Dream, Suspiria, but it's honestly, this is just such a visual smorgasbord of both things that are just so disgusting, but yet I respect the fuck out of it so much. Like, it will blow your mind. Like, I have not heard, I mean, obviously there's going to be people who are going to be like, I don't know, it was fine. I don't know who those people are. Honestly, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them at all. But it's seriously, Demi Moore, this is an award-worthy performance. Like, when she is beautiful as Demi Moore, as she is, Elizabeth Markle, but also when she becomes this decrepit hag kind of thing that is just everything. I mean, it's just everything about it is just seriously speechless. Chef's kiss. Oh, there is a little bit of a Barbie thing that I kind of saw too, but I think I feel like that where a sequence with Dennis Quaid and stuff like that. And I even liked the ending. I mean, it's the fact that, you know, it's if you try and like take too much from yourself, then what do you have left? But, you know, just a monster of what could have been. And yeah, I don't know. Seriously, I like I said, I talked about this with so many people for an hour after screening. And we were just like going on and on and on and on. And everybody, it's like, oh, what's a movie that you've seen that you really like? I'm like, immediately, The Substance, top 5. I'm waiting to see where it ends up. It could be my number 1 film of the year. Honestly, it really could. It was Dune 2. This may have knocked it out. But Demi Moore, I really hope that people, I mean, it was at Venice Film Festival, I believe.
Yeah. It was at Cannes. It was at Venice or Cannes, one of the two.
Yeah, I think Cannes. Yeah. Maybe it was Cannes.
It was Cannes.
Honestly, this is something that she needs to be in putting people, she needs to be in consideration for some awards, even if this is a possibility she's not going to win, because I know we're like getting into the whole thing right now, or at least November, because, you know, right now it's going to be like, horror in October, but this is seriously a career defining role for her. I mean, it is incredible. And just, you know, knowing what she's been through with striptease and GI Jane, how she's a chameleon, like what she put her body through and did, you know, for roles and stuff like that. And then I don't know, it's like she Charlie's Angels, it's like she was back and it's like, oh my gosh, you look at how amazing she looks. But it's like, this is the thing with actresses, we always have to talk about like how they look, how like what are you wearing, all that stuff. This is such an amazing performance and what she had to go through with prosthetics and makeup, but also conveying so much through all that while she's working, and just briefly with Margaret Qualley, who, I don't know, when I was watching it though, I almost thought that I never noticed before, and it's not because their names are the same, but I almost thought that Demi Lovato could have been, if they were going to do like this younger, better version of you. I kind of saw a little bit of Demi Lovato in Demi Moore, and I never noticed that before, and I don't know why I thought that could have been an example, but it's definitely, you know, they do a whole thing like she may not look exactly like the younger version of her, but it's supposed to be like the younger, better, you know, amped up version. And she is. I mean, it's like, you know, smooth skin, perfect everything and all that stuff. And yet there are some scenes, even with Margaret Qualley, that it's like, oh, I think, you know, it's going to make you look at fried chicken a whole different way, if you know what I'm talking about, Mark.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. But yeah, I mean, I cannot rave about this film more than I possibly can. I mean, honestly, it is, I don't even see, even there's a scene where when Demi Moore is when she finds out about the substance, there's a nurse there that has these like crystal clear blue eyes. And later on, there's a gentleman that's in a restaurant and he's got crystal clear blue eyes. And immediately there's a little thing in the film where it's like he's got like a birthmark on his arm. And I was like, they're going to have an older version of you. I can see that coming. But when they show the older version with the birthmark, the fact that they found two guys that have these just hypnotically, like almost like nautical, like it's a color that I have never even seen before. And to have two gentlemen with the same color was just amazing to me. I know it's a little thing, but I was like, damn, that's some damn fine casting there. Like, seriously.
And that's it. We're done. Good night, everyone.
I know. I just rambled on for 20 minutes. Good night. Thanks, everybody.
No, I'm glad. I'm very much glad you were into it like that. And, you know, I was too. I caught a lot of the stuff that they were laying down, even though, again, not necessarily the target for some of the themes, but it still can apply to men in a number of ways as well, as far as image, because like you said, we even have a guy who's doing the substance as well. So it's not just the female, even though we're following these two characters. You know, with the Hollywood star that you mentioned, with it being so early, I almost caught this. This is definitely in an else world. This is not, because the amalgamation too of times, you know, it you can't quite place it in a specific year or even decade, because they're using cell phones, but the star that's taken the entire, you know, country by storm, she's on Letterman, you know, not Letterman, like Fallon or whatever, she's on talk shows and everything, is a woman who's part of a fitness TV show. Yeah. So, you know, so it was one of those things where I'm like, it could have easily been set in early 90s had they not had the cell phones that they had. So once I put it in my head that this isn't really intended to be necessarily in any specific time, it's more of an amalgamation of different time periods, because if you think about it being in modern times, there are a number of things with this film where it would fall apart, in all honesty. Namely with Sue not having any information at all about her social security number, anything, ID, all of that. And if she would have became popular, on the internet, some internet sleuths out there would be going, okay, she has absolutely no origins whatsoever, so you've got to take it as being kind of in its own pocket universe, but it's being used to explore all these themes. And that was one of the things you brought it up in your initial discussion there that got me too, is like, I'm like, what exactly is Elizabeth's motivation to not do the same to Sue? Is she trying to be better than Sue? Because she could have easily done the same thing and really stuck it to Sue. But she doesn't. And that was what I found interesting. She even gets a point, folks, again, spoilers, to where she calls the mysterious voice on the phone, who's the inventor of the substance, saying, what if I want to end it? And by this time, she's rather decrepit in a number of body parts. Her legs, like, just all gnarly as fuck. Half her face is kind of her finger. She's not fully, like, completely, like, hag yet, like witch hag type look, because she does get that look later. But she goes, what if I need to terminate it? And so they give her a package, and she gets like that far to terminate her, and she realizes Sue is going to host the New Year's Eve party, right? A New Year's Eve celebration on TV, a nationwide broadcast. And she stops halfway through, because I guess if you don't take the full syringe, you don't die. Don't think about it too hard there. But some of the practical, some of the rules here, they play a little loose with. But I've been trying to figure out her motivation. The only thing I can think of is that she's still looking at trying to live vicariously through Sue, and especially in the condition that she's in at the point where she wants to terminate her, she's almost like, well, I've got nothing. She's got everything. I can't terminate her, because if I terminate her, then what do I have? So I think there's some of that. Again, all of this comes through Demi Moore's performance. It's a bold performance from her. It almost feels like it's a bit of a catharsis for her, facing these subjects so out in the open of misogyny and genderism and sexualization, and all these themes are just put right out in front of you. There's no subtlety involved in this film, on purpose, and I respect that quite a bit with this film. But Demi Moore, she puts herself out there in every way, shape, and form. Okay, let's put it this way. She, as we mentioned, there is nudity in here by both actresses, where it's completely, there is nothing hidden at all. And for these actresses, both of them, to do this in a film that gets wide release is not something you often see. It as this stark, right in front of you, in all their birthday suits, and I think that also is a statement for both of them of the basically a risk for Hollywood. I mean, this, the exact thing they're talking about is the exact thing that could come to bite them on the ass.
I mean, I felt, and I even wrote this down, I felt that the nudity was empowering. Because it's just all the confidence that Sue has, and then the way Elizabeth looks at herself and is like, and it's like, look, you are a beautiful woman. I mean, no matter what, who cares what age and all that stuff, like, you are a beautiful woman. And so is this younger woman also. But it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like there's several scenes where it's like the full frontal nudity and everything. And I think that it's, I mean, for any day and age, it takes a lot because, but especially with this, where it's like people take screenshots and they're like, oh, let's slow-mo this, meh, meh, meh. And it's like, oh Lord. But I mean, it's all, that's one of the points of the film, is that you have these two women that it's like, one of the reasons why she wants to do a younger version of herself is because she doesn't like the way she looks, even though she just saw a high school friend who's like, you were always the most beautiful woman that I've ever seen, and you still are. Yet, and it's like, but it's like I said at the beginning, it's not about taking that from what other people think of you. You have to believe that in yourself. And especially, as I said earlier, there's so many things where people write nasty comments and complete strangers are saying things, it's like, hey, this. It's like, oh, you're so brave, like typing that out. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, look at you. It's such courage for doing that. It's like, shut up. It's like, why do you care what that person thinks? It's like, I mean, it's like, there's like 18,000 people who could be saying like, that's amazing, all this stuff. But it's like, people will focus on that negative, and that can ruin their day, or that can lead to, horrific things that they do to themselves because of, complete strangers saying that to them. And it's like, it's all that, that self-worth that you need to hang on to, and that you need to respect yourself and love yourself. And one of the things I think, it's like, when either side of them lose that respect, like even when Elizabeth has the syringe in Sue, which is very Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah, that was totally Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, totally. It was like,
from the camera angle to the house.
Yeah,
I'm like,
with the drip and stuff. It's like, when she's got that and she's like, gets it all the way, and then it's just like, just this, and she takes it out. She's like, no, what am I doing? It's like, she's the one who saves Sue's life. Like, right. Even though she knows, like, you can't go back, she realizes, like, no, I can't do this to her. And it's just, she respects her. Like, even though she's turned her into, it's not a slee stack, whatever that creature is that,
Sketsy.
Yeah, it's Sketsy. Skitsy, yeah, that from the Dark Crystal. Yeah. Even though she has turned Elizabeth into that creature from the Dark Crystal, Elizabeth still doesn't want doesn't want Sue to have to die. Plus the fact that maybe she's thinking about it, it's like, how the hell am I going to get this body out of here? I mean, who knows? Maybe if that's one of the reasons too. It's like, I can barely walk out of this place my own, let alone carry a full body that would probably have like her DNA. I mean, it would have her DNA. So it's not like, it's like, oh my gosh, you killed, did something to yourself. But the twist, I mean, Sue doesn't respect Elizabeth. And then, what happens. And then you get, spoiler, Sue decides to make her own substance and split herself apart. And you get Monstro Elizasu, which, yeah, if
Monstro
Elizasu is,
I don't think,
I mean, again,
I don't think I was,
like I said, when they did the finger thing, I said, give them all the awards, because I was floored. Once it gets to Monstro Elizasu, that is where all of the stuff with like the thing and different, I mean, it is amazing, and also so beyond terrifying and grotesque. It is crazy. But Sue is selfish and doesn't, I mean, I don't know what she expected, to happen. I mean, definitely not that. But I also love the sequences that she just puts on the face. It's like she cuts out a face of someone. I think it's Elizabeth.
It's Elizabeth.
Puts it on her monster Elizabeth face, and then puts on a dress and is like kind of walking out like this with like 4 feet and like different arm and like different heads like coming out and like eyes and stuff like that. I mean, honestly, you guys, if you have not seen this, go to your theater. I mean, I told Mark I wanted to review this with him, and you went where? It's like, well, I think it's an hour away. Worth it. Go drive now. Or soon. No, I had an early screening. It's like, as soon as you can, go and see it.
Yeah, and I'm glad I did. You know, I got a lot out of it. I love quirky, odd films anyway, and this is definitely in that category. And it's one of those films where you're watching it, and if you like these type of films, you're like, wow, I'm seeing this on the big screen. What I was mentioning is I don't think I was surprised for such a high attention or, you know, in the zeitgeist, whatever, film to go exactly where it went, since Malignant is the closest thing I would say to where you're like, oh, they went there. Mm-hmm. It's like you don't expect them to fully go there. And when they do in the Substance, because the angle is if she doesn't do the switch and get her fluid, eventually one of them will end up dying. They start falling apart. And we see this wonderful sequence where Sue is really trying to still hold on because it's the big night of the New Year's Eve celebration recording, and she starts falling apart because she hasn't done her switch. And that's what motivated her to mutate herself. And yeah, from there on, it is just it is insane. You get 1,000 pounds per PSI blood splatter. you get appendages growing and falling out and spawning, and and as absurd and as wild as it is, it was showing what the culmination of self-doubt, self-hate ended up being. Mm-hmm. Because what you end up having with these two is you have Demi Moore playing Elizabeth Sparkle, who suddenly gets very jealous of her youthful self because of all the attention. She wishes it was her. You have Sue, who is jealous because Elizabeth Sparkle is there. It's where she came from, and she doesn't like where she came from. So it's a no-win scenario. You can see where these two are eventually on a crash course or self-destruction, because neither one, as you said, respect where they came from or where they're going. They don't expect, and the Substance guy even says, you're not different people. You're the same. One. That's his mantra, is you two are the same people, and you have to respect that. And they don't. And that's such an underlying statement to how many people see themselves, their self-doubt, not just in image. You can take it in image, but almost anything. What I found interesting with Elizabeth Sparkle, and maybe it's just a byproduct of them, of her getting her revenge. But when Elizabeth starts losing her looks and she can't do the fitness show anymore and Sue's dominating, when she comes back, she's eating, but she teaches herself to cook. She teaches herself from the book that was given as a gift from Harvey, Dennis Quaid's character, of I think it was a language learning book. I think it was How to Learn a Language, if I remember correctly. I forgot what it was exactly that the book was, but
I had a cookbook.
Or cookbook, that's what it was. Yeah, that's right. It was the cookbook that she ended up teaching herself. And that's what I found amazing, is that she didn't even realize in her mission to make Sue's life hell when she comes out, Elizabeth learned a whole bunch of like a new skill, and she became very, very proficient in that skill quite a bit, and she didn't even realize it. So not focusing on her self-image, her beauty out anymore, and she was kind of working on her internal, be it for a bad motivation, but still, it's a statement showing, look, you are more than just this. You can learn a new thing. You can do this. You can become someone else without actually creating someone like completely losing yourself, who you are, to be someone else, to be successful. And yeah, I mean, there's that in there as well. And I think part of the issue that some people have with it is, one, the ending that they just, with the monster, who I loved the design. I think that's just a little much for your mainstream audience. But in all honesty, your audiences don't always like the mirror being shown, to themselves while they're watching a movie. And I think part of it is that there's no subtlety, there's no like hidden meaning, like, oh, let's scratch between the surface. No, it lays all the topics it wants to talk about and present to you right out in front of you, going, here it is. Here's the way things are. We aren't sugarcoating anything, you know and I appreciated that quite a bit. Most of the issues I had was kind of trying to put what time period it was, and some other things, but at its core, this is a unique film that I think people will be talking about for quite some time. I don't think this film's going to go away soon, as far as in discussions and such.
Yeah. I want to disagree. I don't feel like Elizabeth was jealous of Sue because of her use of beauty. I feel like Elizabeth was mad because Sue was given everything that Elizabeth had. And when she wakes up, she's trashed the apartment. There's no respect for, what was given to her.
Yeah.
And it was more that, not this jealousy. It was more, just the lack of respect. So then when in turn, Elizabeth was like, you know what? I don't have to be on a diet anymore. I don't have to exercise anymore. I mean, I've done what I had to do, and that's it. So yeah, let me look through this stupid present they gave me. And it's a cookbook. So it's like, let's do everything with the butter and everything with the cream. And let's make this and all that stuff. So then when Sue wakes up and she just sees that, well, and the first time that Sue woke up, basically Elizabeth was just, there's an impression of where Elizabeth was sitting in the chair in front of her television. And it's like, seriously, that's all you did this entire week. This is all you've done. And that's when it's like the respect for both of them starts to waver, because like Sue loses respect for Elizabeth with that it's like, you've had a week. Like, I'm friggin' busting my butt doing all these things. I'm young, I'm beautiful, all that. And then, she's having people over, she's having parties. I do think it's kind of weird the way her apartment is set up. It's a pretty big 1-bedroom apartment, but there's just so much space in the living room that's just weird and kind of odd. And also, I don't know, it's like when Sue's has her time, I would have thought she would have done stuff with the furniture or gotten a bigger TV or modernized some of it, but she doesn't, because it's like, it's not necessarily that important. But she definitely has people over and, leaves it a mess. And it's kind of like, having someone from college come back home, trash the house, then they're back in college. And it's like, really? This is what you did? It's like, I'm gone for a week. I let you have the house to yourself, and this is how you repay me. And that's when I feel it's not necessarily jealousy, but it's just, again, the lack of respect, because that's the main thing about the substance. Like, you have to respect each other because you are one. It's not she and her, it's one. It's you. You each are the same person, and you can't live without each other. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay, no, that's fine. I can see that from your explanation of that. I guess I took it as a little bit more of not, I guess jealousy is not, I guess some of it is, I picked up as jealousy, but I can see the respect angle for sure on it.
And I do think it's interesting though that, like I said, I mean, I don't feel like Sue necessarily is getting more money than Elizabeth was when she was doing this.
Yeah, it's hard to say what she was, how much more she was getting or whatnot from this than Elizabeth. Yeah, maybe they did pay her more, but she's a young and up and coming actress, so she would have possibly even gotten less. So the fact that they're not sharing the same brain, I thought was also an interesting angle, because I thought for sure that's maybe what they would be going for, is that they're sharing the same a consciousness, so one is aware of what the other is doing. But when they had a complete separation, and that this is basically just another version of you, you know, they don't end up respecting one another, to the point of possibly hating one another at so eventually, to where it gets to fisticuffs. So hating yourself. So there's that in here. And there's even a little bit just in general of giving the feeling of the substance, like substance abuse, because heroin or some other addiction, because people have become addicted to plastic surgery. And in here we kind of have that representation, because when we go to get the substance, it's not like she has it delivered to her door, or she goes to this just clinic. She goes to the sketchiest part of town, to a place where the door doesn't even work. I love that gimmick. I chuckled every single time she had to duck under the door, because it only opened up halfway. And she gets to this area that's just like suddenly pristine. Like the rest is like seriously, run down and garbage everywhere, and just not just a sketch place. But when she picks up her substance, it's in this clean, like almost aesthetics,
very sterile.
Thank you. Yeah. Sterile like room where she gets it from, and all the instructions and everything that they're it's so perfect and well produced. It's like, man, I'm wondering, is this someone doing chemical testing? Is this a bioweapon someone's testing? Is this just, so my imagination was starting to wander with that a bit. But yeah, overall, this is a wild film that has a lot to say, a lot to, and it puts all its cards on the table, and it doesn't like try to do there's very little nuance to the film. Let's face it, what it definitely wants to say, it's going to say. And the thing is, I like how unapologetic it is. It doesn't give an out to anybody, really. There's no out for our characters. There's no anybody getting away clean at all, or redemption, or fade into the sunset, or whatever, or like realization, like, well, I'm not going to do that again because I'm happy with myself.
Yeah.
No, the final scene we get is Elizabeth's face. I think it's Elizabeth's face, or it might have been Sue's, moving like an amoeba to where her star is, and she just melts like the stuff.
Fades away. Yeah. And it's very, that's where I got a lot of the Blob with it. Like, it just fades, and then it just kind of crusts over all the cracks that are in her star. And then I think somebody even walks on it, or drops something on it. Yeah.
Someone slips on it. But what they end up doing is having it cleaned to where it's wiped away, to where the only thing left of Elizabeth Sparkle or Sue is that cracked star on the sidewalk. And
I also love the fact that the substance is that like bright neon green.
Oh yeah.
Very reminiscent of Reanimator.
I was just gonna say Reanimator. That is such a nod to Bride of the Reanimator for sure.
But I mean, it's just a unique film with also like similar scenes that just make you with films that are all amazing. Like all the movies that I listed, I could see different things and a little bit of Drive too with the way her robe was something. But I mean, it's all about respecting yourself, and also when I was talking about at the beginning, just knowing that, I mean, it still annoys me with the fact with her workplace just throwing her aside after all the years with just a book of cooking, with the decades or however long she had been doing what she was doing, basically making that channel and that station. And then she's just like the lack of gratitude they had for her, and then just to replace her, and you're done, bye, no party, no nothing. Oh, you came back, yeah. Oh, you forgot these things, okay, bye. And it's like, that's not, I mean, it's not only about Hollywood and the entertainment, but in any workplace job. I mean, just know, you got to know your worth, and know, respect yourself, and know when to, like, walk away when, even if you think something's going well, like pick up on the, just pick up on maybe things that maybe aren't going so well, but do it in your terms. Right. And that's, I think, a thing that just broke her, that it's like, it's her birthday. It's not like she can't do all these things. She just got done doing a set, and I think she was turning 60 or something. I'm not
something
sure.
Like that. Yeah, I forgot exactly.
Like that. But we're just like, F you, Demi Moore, that you look this good at 60. What the what? I mean,
there's a number of actresses in that out there that you look at them and you go, wait, they're what? Like so many actresses in that that are are like that, to where you can't put an age on them. And that, and I think maybe that's part of the statement as well too, is you have Demi Moore, who, in either in the context in the film or in reality, whatever you want to call it, for her age, as people would say, she does not look her age at all. And the fact that they still wanted to 86 her, is that statement too of the industry. And it's one of those things where you could go, well, they're just over exaggerating. But how many films have we seen that to where they have the big star, and the big star gets too old or whatnot, and then you just toss them aside? Like you said, oh, here's a book, here's a watch, here's a coupon.
or they say, it's like, oh, you know what, if you need help losing weight before we do things. I mean, in the past few years, there have been so many women who have been very vocal about that. It's like, no, I'm fine. I'm totally capable of, reading these lines and doing this with the body that I have. Thank you very much. Like, what? And I mean, it's like, you don't, I mean, this isn't like, the heroin chic of the 90s. And I think there was an interview when Demi Moore was talking about that. Like, there was a time when, she did stuff in the 80s, but then in the 90s, everyone was supposed to be like so thin. And I remember stuff from Ally McBeal where they were like emphasizing stuff about Calista Flockhart and Laura Flynn Boyle. And then other women were just then, trying to be like, oh, I've got to lose weight too. And then I'm going to be like, or you can just be you and have them be them. I mean, I even remember them making a joke about it. It's like, so I heard you need a cookie. And they're like, well, what if we split one between Laura Flynn Boyle and Calista Flockhart? And it's like, you guys are award-winning actresses, and you aren't that because you're however many pounds. You're award-winning actresses because you're freaking amazing actresses. But then it's like everyone wants to look like that and all that. And it's like, or you guys can look like yourselves and like just do an amazing job. and just did that. But thing is, no one's trying to say that, because like, oh no, let's everybody look thin because we could do this and all that. And I'm like, it's just, I mean, how many eating disorders have been developed because of that? And I mean, and you know, it's similar to, there have been instances with guys where they don't get the nutritionist that they need to be in this role, so they do the I mean, Matt Damon talks about that in I think Courage Under Fire, where he had to lose so much weight when he was playing somebody who I think was addicted to either because of the instance that happened in the film, or I think he ended up doing heroin and to get through. But he would, like, I think ran 20 miles a day and was eating skinless chicken, and then no one really paid attention. And I think Denzel Washington was the one who was like, you need to keep acting, forget that role, never ever do that again, because I think he still is like having repercussions from doing that to his body.
Oh yeah.
It's not like everyone can be Christian Bale, like or Marlon Brando, or like, you know, doing different things with the weights and, you know, be method and all that stuff. They want to make sure they convey what this person is going through. But now it's like studios and, you know, agents and actors themselves, like, I need to do this in a healthy way, because I cannot kill myself for one role.
Not for one role.
And then no one sees that movie. It's like, yay, I did it. And it went straight to nothing.
And it bombed. It went straight to streaming.
Or not even that. Or it's like, oh, you know what? The studio decided to go a different direction and to not even show it. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, this has been wonderful, Katie. Thank you so much for the perspective on The Substance, folks. It'll be, I'm sure, eventually on streaming. I have a feeling it's going to be talked about at awards season 2. If not, shame on them, because it deserves it so. So thank you as always. Hope you enjoyed this co-review. Katie, where can they find your stuff at?
They can find me at The Blonde in Front on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. I'm trying to get those videos up there, people. I don't know. TikTok is not liking them. They keep booting them, but I am trying. So keep looking, and they're going to be there.
Awesome. So check all that out. Links will be in the body description of this review. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, everyone, for watching this and helping us get past 3,000 subscribers. We're heading towards 3,100 subscribers now, hopefully by the end of the year. Can only do that with your help. So we appreciate every single one of you. And until next time, remember, keep that ticket stub.